to G9Ija Tv News Headlines with your host, Dr. Chan. Subscribe to G9Ija TV News Headlines. Thank you. A wonderful morning to all our beautiful, handsome, cute viewers. We're always very delighted to see you. Join us every time we are here. Right here at the studio, G9Ija TV News Headlines with your host, Dr. Champion. How was the night? Like usually I would ask. Hope you slept well. Hope you didn't get into trouble. Hope you ensure that you have a smile on your face. Nigeria is tough for all of us, but guess what? You can decide to still smile. A quick one, it is not really what happens to us in life, it's how we react to what happens to us. That's our word of advice for you this morning. It's not really what happens to us in life, it's how we respond to what happens to us. A wise man said that an optimist sees a cup and says it's half full, and a pessimist sees the same cup and says it's half empty. How do you see life? Half full or half empty? In life, you have to understand that your perception is what determines your motion. If you see yourself as a failure, definitely you can never succeed. No one will look up to you if you continue to look down on yourself. So this morning, we're encouraging you to brace up, sit up, push up yourself, be your best, do what you have done before. And if what you have done before made you to fail, try something new. Insanity, they say, is something you do over and over and over again, and yet you expect a different result. So it's important you are strategic. It's important that you move forward. It's important that you take one more step. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Okay, so that's our motivation for you this morning. Please be your best. Don't give up. Nigeria may be tough for all of us, but don't lose your smile. Have hope. Believe in yourself. Keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And eventually everything will be all right. Okay, and away from motivational tips, we have top stories on our decks this morning. With a Punch newspaper, 62,000 naira minimum wage. Labour falls politicians jumbo pay. Labour falls politicians jumbo pay. National Assembly gets bill after Salah. Now the news in detail. Organized Labour on Thursday faulted what it described as the jumbo remuneration paid to political office holders in the country. Speaking against the backdrop of the government's insistence on paying 62,000 naira minimum wage, the acting president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Prince Adewale Adeoju, advised President Bola Tinubu to pay workers a living wage and ignore those he described as sycophants. This is as the Senate confirmed that it will receive the minimum wage bill after the Salah celebration. In the Democracy Day broadcast on Wednesday, the President promised to forward a bill on the new minimum wage to the National Assembly soon. Asked about the proposed bill, the Senate spokesman Yemi Adaramodu said the President will likely send the wage word bill after the Salah break. The Senate Tuesday adjourned plenary for the Salah break and is due to resume on the 2nd of July 2024. Federal government and Labour have been at loggerheads over the new minimum wage, with the union leaders insisting on 250,000 naira. And away from there, we move over to another interesting story still on the Punch newspaper, which says, ours must not be empty stomach democracy. Now the news in detail. Glorious and great Rubicon Nigeria crossed last Wednesday when the nation marked 25 years of democracy. In the last quarter of a century, the nation has struggled and wobbled. And unfortunately, till now, the gates aren't yet steady as the giant of Africa's systemic afflictions in many areas continue to fester. As Nigeria continues to dig the ground for sweet water, bitter water keeps springing forth for many Nigerians. My people are still shedding tears of pain that have refused to cease flowing as they hope that one day democracy will make our mountains move. Today, Nigeria stands tall amidst African countries in economic and security turmoil. What exactly are we doing today about our many ills? How faithful truly are we to confronting the afflictions that confront us? How sincere and knowledgeable are our leaders? How wide awake are the followers who obey their leaders in gaining genuflection? What are Nigeria's forward march blueprints for the next 10, 20, or 30 years and our children's tomorrow? Will the cornucopia hemorrhage and Hunting heteronomy ever end? Who has the answer to all the nagging questions about Nigeria without deterring into a trashy tergiversation? And how has democracy really helped the people who sleep and wake up with empty stomachs as poverty and hunger continue to bite badly? Let me take you briefly down the memory lane of democracy in Nigeria. In 1999, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, one-time military head of state, became Nigerian civilian's president. Like biblical Joseph from the calaboose, his garment was changed and made to reign over about 150 million Nigerians through an election. Obasanjo survived his first term, did what he could do, sought re-election 4 years later and won. Before his tenure was over, many Nigerians couldn't wait to see him go. They yearned for somebody else because democracy made life worse for the people. His administration had no visible solution to the millions of empty stomachs democracy created. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua succeeded Obasanjo in 2007. Nigerians, in their inveterate manner, hailed the Katsina governor. 6 months into power, he was also shouted down. Baba go slow, common parlance, was one of his Christian names because the demons of democracy didn't let the people breathe. Yar'Adua set a template and tempo, did what he could do for Nigeria as president, and suddenly the giver of life withdrew breath from the president halfway into his first term. He then created a confusing vacuum. Yar'Adua's deputy was a meek and mild Goodluck Ebele Jonathan from Otuoke. Goodluck's meekness was taken advantage of by remnants of Yar'Adua's power cabal. The clique tried to prevent him from ascending as president. Nigeria's constitution and millions of Nigerians rose up in defense of Goodluck. He became president. Goodluck was beloved in the city and adored in the field, but heavy walls of Nigeria's democracy were whittled down by a fiery furnace of corruption, among other virulent vices. Then General Muhammadu Buhari retired, challenged Goodluck for the throne in an election. Hope also became aglow for many with Buhari coming on board the presidential electioneering plane. In March 2015, Buhari won the election. When he said at his inauguration at May 29, 2015, in this one-liner, "I belong to everybody, I belong to nobody." Nigerians believe the general had drawn a battle line between himself and prevalent poverty in Nigeria. Buhari completed his route last year after 7-8 years. It is widely adjudged that he left Nigeria poorer and more confused than he met it. Millions of human empty stomachs created by democracy under Buhari have become the albatrosses of his successor, Bola Tinubu. Remember that Tinubu had bellowed out loud to whoever cared to listen during the campaign that it was his turn to be president. Now it's his turn indeed as he struggles to turn the wheels of the nation's ship from a monumental wreck. In 2017, the International Monetary Fund said that Nigeria was on track to becoming one of 20 largest economies in the world by 2020. But in 2021, its mission chief, Amini Mati, said that the prediction failed flat because the economy underperformed by growing too slowly to reduce poverty or joblessness. Miseries have deepened and more pain evident on Main Street. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the nation's unemployment is rising. A staggering 23.18 million persons of Nigeria's labor force are out of jobs. It is further indicated an increase in the country's unemployment could flow mostly among young and able youths. A gloomy economic atmosphere is an indicator there may be an uptick in youth restlessness and their involvement in serious crimes if they are unable to feed themselves and take care of their families. Will democracy under Tinubu help stave off these scary projections? Will democracy get Nigeria out of the valley of the shadow of a debt of a whooping 42 trillion naira? Nigeria has 174 universities, 134 polytechnics, 27 monotechnics, and 220 colleges of education. Hundreds of applications from more private universities sit on the decks of the National Universities Commission for approval. Nigerian tertiary institutions produce about 600,000 graduates every year. 80% of them are unemployable because they lack attributes such as analytical and good communication skills. The graduates went through school, but school didn't go through them. Our public schools are not better than public toilets. Our nation building its tomorrow on a paraplegic educational system will crumble on the wheelchair of retrogression and backwardness. Who has democracy helped aside politicians and their cronies? A democratic system that drains its own, that drowns. Is one that drowns. Do Nigerians deserve a chokehold of hunger and poverty? democracy has not brought down the significant poverty level. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that about 40.1% of the population, or over 82.9 million Nigerians, are considered poor based on national standards, with real capital expenditures below 137,430 naira per year. The multidimensional poverty index indicates that 63% of Nigerians, approximately 133 million people, experience multidimensional poverty. This measure includes deprivations in areas such as education, health, living standards, and employment. The disparity between regions is stark, with 65% of the poor living in the northern part of the country. It is projected that the poverty rate in Nigeria will increase to 38.8%, exacerbated by rising cost of living and inflation. Efforts to address these issues include ambitious fiscal reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy and increasing revenue. Except President Tinubu chooses to be a different kind of servant leader, democracy will continue to be a dream-killing, maddening machine which has killed our highways and byways and turned our hospitals into concentration camps where death is buy one, get one free. As of today, democracy, as practiced in our nation, has turned the country into a dysfunctional and decrepit piece of crap and scrap that must be fixed. But I continue to have hope. It's a patriotic thing to do. The work involved is a big turnaround in all spheres of governance, is humongous. But when I read that MDA revenues in February 2023 was a paltry 154.25 billion naira, and a few months ago it shot up to 835.7 billion naira. My hope rises for democracy when I read that the Central Bank of Nigeria has cleared the verified outstanding forex backlog of $1.3 billion, and that the sum total cleared backlogs now just under $5 billion. Since the new CBN management came on board just 9 months ago, my hope rises. When I read also that the CBN has paid Nigeria's debt service obligation for the first quarter of 2024 to its creditors, and that the IMF later predicted a reduction of Nigeria's annual inflation to 26% by the end of 2024, my hope rises. These are all dividends of democracy Nigerians are hoping for, but we must and can do better than this. Ours must not be empty stomach democracy. Okay, details of that can be seen in the Punch newspaper. And away from the Punch newspaper, we move over to the Leadership newspaper with a tragic headline. Troops kill terrorist kingpin Buhari Yadi at Kaduna-Katsina boundary. Now the news in details. The troops of Sector 6 Operation Whale Punch have neutralized a deadly terrorist kingpin, Buhari Alhaji Halidu alias Buhari Yadi, and dozens of his fighters around Idasu forest at the boundary between Giwa local government area of Kaduna State and Sabuwa local government area of Katsina State. Buhari Yadi was one of the deadliest bandit leaders terrorizing northern Nigeria in the last decade. The Kaduna State government said the merciless bandit was also known to have links with other deadly terrorist groups in the northeast and northwest parts of the country. A security report said the troops of Sector 6 Operation Whale Punch rained down fire on the terrorist kingpin known and his cohorts, abruptly terminating the ignominious spell of terror. Overseeing Commissioner, Minister of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, in a statement on Thursday, explained that Buhari Yadi was neutralized in a fierce battle with the troops under the coordination of their commander, also the General Officer commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army, Major General MLD Saraso, which took place around the Dasu forest at the boundaries between Giwa local government area of Kaduna State and Sabuwa local government area of Katsina State. The statement said that the troops began the covert operation in response to intelligence reports on terrorist movement from Samunaka, Saluwa area of Katsina State. I want to say well done to the Nigerian Army and thank you for keep doing what you know how to do best. And now we move over to the Vanguard newspaper with an interesting top story. Local government autonomy. Supreme Court reserves judgment on federal government suit against 36 governors. Now the news in detail. The Supreme Court yesterday reserved its judgment on the suit the federal government filed to secure the full autonomy for the 774 local government areas in the country. A 7-man panel of the court led by Justice Gabriel Lawal okayed the matter for judgment. after governors of the 36 states of the Federation, through their respective attorney generals, adopted their briefs of argument. The states, in separate preliminary objections, sought the dismissal of the suit with substantial cost. They contended that the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, who initiated the action on behalf of the federal government, lacked the local standing, which is the legal right to do so. The defendants further alleged that AGF breached their rights to fair hearing when it failed to serve them with a copy of a further affidavit filed in support of the suit. Some of the states argued that they already have democratically elected local government officials in place, insisting that the suit by the federal government amounted to an abuse of the judicial process. After listening to parties, the Justice Lawal-led panel said it will communicate the judgment date to them. Federal government had in its suit marked prayed the Supreme Court to okay full autonomy for all the LGAs in the country as the third tier of government. It prayed the court to issue an order prohibiting state governors from embarking on a unilateral, arbitrary, and unlawful dissolution of democratically elected local government leaders, as well as an order permitting the funds standing the credits of local government to be directly channeled to them from the Federation account in line with the provisions of the Constitution as against the alleged unlawful joint accounts created by governors. Details of that can be seen in the Vanguard newspaper. If you're interested, please get yourself a copy. And still on uninteresting news, the Leadership newspaper has this to say: just in, federal government secures $2.25 billion World Bank support for economic reforms. Now the news in detail. The federal government has secured $2.25 billion in financial support from the World Bank to bolster ongoing economic reforms, aiming at stabilizing the economy and fostering inclusive growth. This was disclosed late Thursday by the Director of Press in the Ministry of Finance, Manga Mohammed. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, confirmed the approval of two significant financial support packages by the World Bank to the President Bola Tinubu-led government. The initiatives were part of President Tinubu's broader effort to stabilize the economy, position it for sustained growth, and provide urgent support to the poor and vulnerable, he said. The approved operations include $1.5 billion for the Nigerian Reforms for Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation, RESET, Reset Development, Policy Financing Program, DPF, and $750 million for the Nigerian Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms, ARMOR program for resource PFOR. This combined total of $2.25 billion will provide essential financial and technical support as the government continues to address economic distortions. Good news, I must say, and well done, Mr. President. And as we're going to call it a wrap, we have something very interesting from the Premium Times Nigeria. Kano Emirate crisis, federal court assumes jurisdiction in suit challenging reinstatement of Sanusi. The Federal High Court Thursday says it has jurisdiction to entertain the suit filed against the reinstatement of Lamido Sanusi as the Emir of Kano. The court in suit number FHC KNCS 1822024 has ordered the state government and other parties involved to stop the implementation of the state's new emirate law that reinstated Mr. Sanusi pending the hearing of the substantive case. A title holder in the Kano Emirate, Aminu Danagundi, filed the suit. Mr. Danagundi, who holds the traditional title of Sakin Dawaki Barba, Senior Councillor, joined the state government, the State House of Assembly, and the Speaker, the Attorney General of the State, the State Commissioner of Police, the Inspector General of Police, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the State Security Service SSS as respondents. However, counsel to respondents argued that the federal court lacks jurisdiction to entertain the matter, as chieftaincy affairs are on the residual list of the Nigerian Constitution. And still on security, we have something interesting from the Daily Trust. Nigerian police ban Doba in Kano. The Kano State Police Command has banned Doba activities in the state. Details of that can be seen in the Daily Trust newspaper. If you are much interested, please get yourself a copy. And finally, this morning we have something from the Cable News, which goes with the headline, President Tinubu didn't cause economic hardship. He needs our support, says Soludo. Chukwuma Soludo, governor of Anambra State, says President Bola Tinubu did not cause the economic hardship of the country. He spoke on Wednesday during the platform, a national conversation organized by Poju Oyemade, senior pastor of the Covenant Christian Center, to mark 2024 Democracy Day. The Anambra governor said the country is suffering from the accumulated poor actions and inactions of successive administration since 1999. President Tinubu did not cause the problem. It took more than 10 years of living in denial and kicking the can down the road to get to this predictable sorry state. We're now suffering the consequences of what I call delayed and misguided adjustment from a macroeconomic standpoint of the economy, Soludo said. He noted that Tinubu has the historic duty to mobilize Nigerians to clean up the mess for future generations. Nigeria faces a fiscal quagmire and even technical solvency problems. Debt has piled up to a level that leaves little headroom for more borrowing, albeit at a very high cost, he said. Yet the needs of the citizens keep increasing in geometric proportion by the day. Governor Soludo warned that printing more money would lead to spiraling inflation. The governor charged Nigerians to support Tinubu to change the country for good. He also backed the proposed single term of 6 years for elected office holder, adding that any form of autonomy for all LGAs in the country is against the tenets of true federalism. Sometimes these conversations about single term might begin to make some sense so that you fix it. Whether you say 4 years or 5 years, 6 years or 7 years, single term, he said. So you're not thinking about the next election once you finish getting into this. I face that all day in my state. You want to get into this project, you say, no, wait, you know you have an election. And I say, no, let's get it. If we get it there, we'll get there. And if we lose, we lose. Details of that can be seen in the front page of the cable news. And with that, we call it a wrap this morning on your most exciting, educating, entertaining TV channel, the G9Ija TV news headlines. And of course, stay out of trouble, stay safe, stay informed. Remember that as we go towards the weekend, it's important that you stay safe, stay out of trouble, and don't be another problem Nigeria has, rather be a solution to Nigeria's problem. Thank you for watching. Dr. Champion is my name, signing out. Subscribe to G9Ija TV news headlines. Thank you.